What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a Majespecter deck profile. Now, this is something that I have wanted to do since the release of Phantom Nightmare because we got some incredible support for this old archetype, and the other night I actually managed to go X1 at my 40-player local, so even though X1 isn't an undefeated record, it is still definitely very good, especially considering the fact that we are in a Tier 0 format, and funny enough, this actually has a very good matchup into Snake Eye and Fire King because none of the Majespecter monsters are able to be targeted, so let's go ahead and show you guys the build. To kick things off with the Majespecter monsters, we of course have 3 copies of Bunbuku. This is the searcher for the deck. On summon, you can add any Majespecter monster, and that is just incredible because this equates to a 1-card starter thanks to some of the support that we got in Phantom Nightmare, but it's not the only 1-card starter because we also have Yada. Now, if you used to play Majespecters back in the days of Pendulums, you'll know that Yada was actually never any good, and that's because there were no good Majespecter spell cards for it to search, but that all changed, once again, with Phantom Nightmare, so we'll talk about that once we get to the spells. Next up, we have 3 copies of Porcupine. Porcupine is one of the new cards, and it is absolutely incredible, and honestly, a big portion of what the deck was missing. For those of you that don't know, the Porcupine has the effect of you can special summon it from your hand if you control a Majespecter monster, and if it is normal or special summoned, you can reset one of your Majespecter spells from your graveyard. So not only does it act as extension, but it also acts as recursion as well. Then we have our 1 copy of Kyubi, our 1 copy of Ogama, and our 1 copy of Nekomata. These are the Majespecter cards that are good in their own right, but really not all that strong on their own. The Fox and the Toad are really strong for being able to get you your spells and traps. Fox will search you any of your traps, and Ogama can set any of your spells or traps. The Nekomata is relatively weak because its effect doesn't apply until the end phase, which is when it's summoned. You can search during the end phase, but it's there because we needed a couple more low scales, and it's actually part of a niche combo to be able to summon it and just get guaranteed follow-up for the next turn as well. Then we have 3 copies of our Majesty Pegasus, the Draco Slayer. This card is always treated as a Majespecter monster, so it is searchable off of something like the Bunbuku, but it also has a lot of synergy with a card in the extra deck, which we'll talk about when we get there, not to mention that you can search any field spell in the game at the cost of a discard, so we have a couple of field spells, including the Majespecter field spell that we'll go over during the spell section. We have our 1 copy of Luster Pendulum and our 1 copy of Dynamite Powerload. These are to work in synergy with the Majesty Pegasus, but they also just have a little bit of niche playability for certain combos. The Luster Pendulum is really good going second for board breaking because you need a tuner to make the Ignister, and this is actually part of the combo to summon this out of your other Pendulum scale once you've already established somewhat of a board. We are playing 2 copies of Kashtira Fenrir. The deck does struggle a tiny bit going second, so not only does this help it go second, but it is an additional interruption on your end board as well, and because we need a discard for the Majesty Pegasus, it's really cool to be able to use Fenrir to search a free discard, just so that we have the guaranteed card we need without having to get rid of potential other pieces in our hand. Onto the hand traps, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and 3 copies of Nibiru. The reason that I like Nibiru in this deck, when you guys know that I'm not usually a fan of it, is because of the Majespecter spells and traps that kind of interrupt your opponent as well, so you'll be able to kind of ensure that the Nibiru actually sticks in tandem with the other cards that you have. We have our 3 copies of Majespecter Wind. This is the new spell card, and this is a very important part of the deck because it's essentially a pseudo E-Telly. What you can do is when you activate it, you have the option to tribute a card. If you do not tribute, then you can special summon a Majespecter from hand. If you do tribute, then you can summon one from deck or grave. So it's just really easy to not only get you into resources, but also recur resources from your grave, and very, very strong. We have our 1 copy of Majespecter Cyclone and our 1 copy of Majespecter Storm. I've been considering dropping the Cyclone actually because usually it's not all that good and the Storm is much better. And the reason that Storm is much better is because since it's not once per turn, you can actually reset it off of the Porcupine and just continue to use it multiple times throughout the turn. We have our consistency pieces in 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Don't really need to say much there. And then on to the field spells. We have our Majesty's Pegasus and our Secret Village of the Spellcasters. This is for the Majespecter archetype specifically so that you can continue to summon things from deck, and tributing winds gets more and more important once we get into the extra deck, But this card is just an absolute blowout because you can put this card on board and then your opponent probably can't play. Yes, we are in a format where it is relatively easy to put a spellcaster on board in something like Diabellstar, but we have cards that can get the Diabellstar off the field before they're able to use any spells. Onto the traps, we have our Majespecter Tempest and our Majespecter Tornado. Speaking of ways to get Diabellstar off the field, the Tempest can not only either negate its summon or its effect, but the Tornado can just banish it as well, so both of these are ways to remove that Diabellstar before they're able to activate spells. And finishing up the deck, we have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. That is going to be 40 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. And before we get into the extra, do not forget that this upcoming Friday, March 15th, we are dropping the pre-order for our brand new merch, the Metal Field Center for the popular monsters, obviously featuring Diabellstar and Poplar in this incredible art. If you guys don't know already, I have dropped Metal Field Centers in the past, so I can assure you that the quality of these are absolutely phenomenal, so make sure you guys have it on your calendar, make sure you guys are ready. Pre-orders drop this Friday. Now, the extra deck is going to be a little bit out of order because there are some cards that I want to talk about first, and that is going to be the brand new Majespecter Link monster, Orthrus Nu, or Nue, however you want to pronounce it. This card is incredible. Not only is it Electromite, but it is Electromite Plus. You are able to essentially go +4 off of a single card because of this Link monster. When it is summoned, you can add 2 of your Majespecters back from your extra deck to your hand, and then place 2 other Majespecters from your deck to the extra deck. So you get your stales established, and then you get to just freely Pendulum Summon as well, and depending on what you put, that is just a plethora of resources that you are getting that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And again, there are multiple 1-card combos into this. It does have the downside of locking you into Majespecters or Draco Slayers, but it is a very small price to pay because I promise you the end board is still just as strong. Then we have the new Xyz monster with the Draco Ryu. Now, this card is why tributing is so important. This is a non-once per turn, specifically it says twice per turn. When you tribute one of your monsters, or rather I think it's whenever a monster is tributed in general, doesn't matter where or how, you can detach 1 material from this card and special summon a Majespecter from your deck. Now, this is actually able to summon out Kieran, which, yes, Kieran is banned, and I probably should have talked about that when we got to Winds as well, because Winds is also able to summon Kieran. So for the first time in the Majespecter lifespan, we have a card that can summon Kieran, so hopefully that comes back on the next ban list. But this is just able to get you ridiculous amounts of resources, especially with all of the cards that you have to tribute. You have your Winds, your Cyclone, your Storm, your Majesty's Pegasus, your Tempest, your Tornado. There's just so many cards that tribute, so you're never really losing out on the advantage when you pay the cost for those tribute cards. Then we have our 1 fusion in the Dinoster Power. This is just an incredible way of getting into combo because you tribute monsters from your side of the field to summon it. So by summoning this card using materials that you have, you actually activate the effect of your Draco to get additional cards as well. And if you made the Draco with one of your Draco Slayer monsters, most likely the Majesty, then you'll be able to summon it back from the graveyard when you detach it with the Dinoster, and it's essentially like you're just getting free resources. And then on top of all of that, it protects your pendulums as well. We have the 1 copy of Ignister Prominence. This is an incredible card for pendulums because it is a non-targeting removal, as well as being able to just get you additional resources from the deck. Onto the Xyz monsters, we have our 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, which is really good for the Snake Eye format. We have the 1 copy of Magister Paladin. This is just really strong, being able to get you resources back from your extra deck, as well as searching during the end phase for guaranteed follow-up. And then we have our 1 copy of Baguska. I never made this, but I think it's very strong for when you get hand-trapped in niche scenarios. And then the final Xyz is going to be 1 copy of Tornado Dragon. This is for the matchups where the Abyss Dweller isn't necessarily as good as you want it to be. Anything that is more control or back row based, you'll be able to go into the Tornado Dragon instead. Now onto the generic Link monsters, we have 2 Link 2s in Beyond the Pendulum and IP Masquerena. Now, Beyond the Pendulum is really strong because it doesn't lock you like the Majespecter Link does, so there are some combos where it is actually more correct to go for the Beyond the Pendulum. And then IP Masquerena is IP Masquerena. We have our 1 copy of Exceed the Pendulum. This is really strong for a very specific combo, but not even just for that specific combo. This gets you essentially free resources as well, adding back cards from your extra deck to your hand, and then also being able to special summon from the graveyard. And for the link 4s to finish it up, we have the Access Code Talker and the Appaloosa. Access Code Talker is just so that you have an easy way to go for game, and Appaloosa is part of your end board to ensure that your opponent really isn't allowed to play the game. And there you guys have it. That is going to be my Majespecter deck profile. If you guys want to see some combo tutorials for this deck, the best way to let me know is to like the video. So we're going to say that if this video gets 100 likes, we will make a combo tutorial for Majespecter, so go ahead and get on that. If you liked it, you know the deal. Make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends. As always, don't forget to check out the channel sponsor Dueling Guard using code INSANE18 or my new affiliate link in the description below. You can get 5% off your entire order. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.